A visit to Yorktown National Park starts with a short film.
He must take some kind of action. The moment is at hand. The British Army is split in two. Perhaps more important, the French have embraced the American cause.
In the Yorktown battle, it was George Washington and the French General Rochambeau versus the British Cornwallis. The National Park Visitor Centers always seem to have a small museum, and they're very impressive and very interesting. A precious moment between grandpa and grandson. At least I hope that's his grandpa. A shout out to my home state, Rhode Island. My ancestors hadn't arrived yet, but they all ended up in Rhode Island. I'm putting a GoPro on my head today, just for the heck of it. This is an auto tour, and we'll be listening to a CD we purchased for $5 at the gift shop. It'll tell us the story of the battlefields we'll be driving through. This works well today because it's too hot to not be in some type of air conditioning. Are you excited? Are you excited for the auto tour? Huh, baby? My night mask looks like a bra for the eyeballs. The Battle of Yorktown was considered the last major land battle of the Revolutionary War.
Concentrated behind this inner defense line. In all fairness, it seems only correct to remember that Yorktown was chosen as a naval station, not as a defense position against a siege from the land side. Nevertheless, Lord Cornwallis did a thorough job of directing us to construct adequate defenses. But when we first got here, we weren't in much of a hurry to build. After all, we were expecting a quiet fall and winter.
And I get lost after the first stop like a dumbass. But I got the hang of it after the second stop. I love history, but military strategy isn't my favorite. Unless they pull off a tricky ruse like D-Day. I'd rather hear about the daily life of a soldier. Actually, Washington did pull off a D-Day type ruse to trap Cornwallis. The British had help from the Germans. The war had been going on for 6 years at this point and not going well for the Americans until the French showed up to help. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. This stop of the tour is the Yorktown National Cemetery. The majority of these graves are of unknown soldiers, mostly Civil War. And then during the tour, it starts pouring rain. And I get soaked in that cemetery. Whew. And you are bone dry.
A bone? Where?
Rochambeau and his troops landed in Newport, Rhode Island, and they actually marched right through the town I was living in before I hit the road. Then the French met up with Washington in Connecticut, and they eventually got to Virginia. The route they took is marked all through Rhode Island and Connecticut. There are different types of cannons. Some were more mobile. Others fired off bombs that exploded instead of just a cannonball. Some types had a longer range. These palisades were useful in protecting smaller forts. They could be put up quickly and easily. They talk about earthworks a lot on this tour, which are basically hills and trenches created for warfare.
All their brilliance combined would only be a whisper in the wind, without a kindred spark in each one of the men who marched through the war with them. They marched to the battle.
In no time, we had scaled the walls, and in our furious haste to get inside the redoubt, were all but trampled by our own men. Fleeing British and Hessians collided with Americans as they tried to tumble out of the redoubt and down the embankment to the river. Surrounded on every side, the British commander, Major Campbell, realized all was lost and surrendered.
The British surrendered, baby! We won!
That's nice. Is it time to eat yet?